Hey Bayek, it's me Ian, and in today's video we're looking at this. This is The System from 1964. It was also known as the Girl Getters in some of the posters and publicity you've seen, but hey, yes. Now, what is this film you're saying, Bayek? What's this film about? Well, I suppose you can call it a sort of drama, but it's very much a film of that period of the 60s, the transition into the swinging 60s, and it's excellent. It's got the music, everything. It's a really cool film, basically. I think it's cool. And it's just pure nostalgia just watching this film, and it's fantastic. I know it might not be to everybody's taste, but I love all these sort of nostalgic films. Anyhow, let's get into it. It's 95 minutes long. Rotten Tomatoes give it 55%. Yes. Well, you knew it, didn't you? But some of the critics did appreciate it. And now I think as time has gone on, the appreciation has really gone up. Because I think it's the cast as well. The cast in this film is so good. Everybody's so good. And then on top of that, you've got what I'm going to talk about as well in a minute. Now, it's written by Peter Draper. And as a writer, this film is interesting because he popularized the word grockles, which were I've heard that before. It's often used by people who have visitors, holidaymakers coming into their towns, and they were called grockles. Yes, I like it. Now, the cinematography of this film is by, yes, Nicholas Roeg. I mean, Nicholas Roeg, what a director he was to become just amazing director. And the cinematography is fantastic on this film. It really is. It really elevates it. And, well, I mean, Nicholas Roeg, it's just the amazing amount of films that just so much quality. Just one or two that stand out for me is Don't Look Now, of course, from 1973. There's also The Man Who Fell to the Earth, 1976, David Bowie. Man Who Fell to the Earth, yeah, fantastic. And one, I think it was possibly his last film, was The Witches, from 1990, which I absolutely love. That's a Roald Dahl story, and Angelica Houston is in it, and it's amazing film. But he's a really great director. Some great films. Check him out. And then it's directed by Michael Winner. Yeah, this is an early Michael Winner film. And again, I think he does rely a lot on Nicholas Roeg, actually. Definitely. Michael Winner films that stand out. Hannibal Brooks. Now, maybe that's not talked about much, but it's one that he worked with Oliver Reed. It's a sort of war film, but it's very good. It's got a really good angle. And that's from 1969. Then, of course, I just say the word Charles Bronson. Yes, The Mechanic. Yes, that's amongst many Charles Bronson films before, you know what. Anyhow, Mechanic from 1972, but it's Death Wish, 1974, that, of course, he's famous for. Also Death Wish 2, 1982, and Death Wish 3, 1985. So he did 3 Death Wish films as director. There also is a film I'd just like to point out, which is a really good horror film. He was the director of The Sentinel from 1977. That's an excellent film. Yeah, excellent. Now, the music is by Stanley Black, but there's also a lot of a soundtrack, and particularly you've got the title theme tune track, which is by the Searchers. The System. They couldn't get the Beatles, obviously, but they got the Searchers and a few other of these type of groups. It all adds to that era of what we're in. The music is so important. The beat, almost like the beginning of the mod style of music. Yeah, definitely. Excellent stuff. But it's the locations on this. The filming, it was done in South Devon, right? And you've got Brixham, Elderbury Coast, Paignton Beach, Harbour and Pier, Torquay Seafront, Dartmouth, Slapton Sands, Hall Sands. All these wonderful locations. Wow, it's beautiful, and I love it because it's the 1960s. Wow, it's almost like a documentary of seeing all these places. But it isn't, of course, it's a drama, but it's in there. It's fantastic, yes. Oh, it really enhances filmmaking when you get great locations. And the black and white photography is fantastic. Absolutely wonderful, it really is. So, I've gone on about that. Let's go on to cast. The cast is, of course, it stars Oliver Reed. Oliver Reed, what an actor Oliver Reed is. We've come across him such a lot on this channel. I talk about him and he pops up in so many places, and I think now people realise now what a really good actor Oliver Reed was. I know he had a lot of sort of personal demons and things about him, and he's drinking and all that kind of thing, but what an amazing actor when he was fully on form. He was fantastic. We've, of course, encountered him in 1961 in The Curse of the Werewolf Hammer film. He was in things before that, and also he didn't always have these big major roles, but they did come along. And Oliver, the musical, he's in that, and isn't he fantastic in Oliver? He's so menacing in it. Oh, yes, Bill Sykes he plays. And Women in Love really put him on the map as well. 1969, D.H. Lawrence story. And The Devils, yeah, the controversial film, The Devils from 1971. It really is a controversial film. That he's in that. He was in Cronenberg film, The Brood from 1979. Wow, it's incredible. But of course, I think what a lot of people now realise, right, his very last film, which he won a posthumous award for, I think an Academy Award, was Gladiator. He died when they were making the film, but they had enough to able to, it was enough in the film, and they did some sort of CGI kind of stuff in the extras to create some of those scenes that were missing, which you don't really notice. But what a superb film to end on, Gladiator is, and he was great in that, his last role. Yeah, fantastic. Then we've got Jane Merrow playing Nicola. Notable films that I just popped out that she was in. She was in the historical drama The Lion in Winter, 1968. But she was also in Hands of the Ripper, 1971, a brilliant Hammer film. Absolutely superb. She was in that. Then we've got Barbara Ferris, who plays Susie. She was in Children of the Damned. Wow, what a film that is. That's from 1964. In a very sort of later, I think she's retired now. One of the last films was The Craze, 1990. That's the one with the what's the names? Yes, I forgot it. The Spandau Ballet Singers. Yes, Kemps. That's it. The Kemps. Yeah, the Kemps are in that. That's that version. Then we've got Julia Foster playing Lorna. Julia Foster, well, Alf in 1966, she was in that. She was in All Coppers Are. She was really sort of a model, went into acting. And in recent times, we saw in Hammer House of Horror episode, the second one, which was the 13th reunion, 1980. Oh, that brilliant. Yes, she was in that. Then we've got Harry Andrews. Harry Andrews is an amazing actor. He plays Lassie. He pops up in all sorts of roles. He often is sort of a military kind of figure as well. He was in The Hill, which is a very highly acclaimed film with Sean Connery in 1965. He was in Darling. Oh yeah. Dirk Bogart. And of course, Julie Christie. Yes, Julie Christie's in that. Yes. Fantastic. But he also was in Battle of Britain from 1969, which is a great war film. Entertaining Mr. Sloane from 1970, and The Medusa Touch from 1978. Richard Burton, we've covered that one before. Amazing actor. Yeah, he pops up all sorts of films. Then we've got David Hemmings playing David. David Hemmings, he's kind of a face of the 60s into the 70s that just pops up everywhere. Of course, he was in Blow Up from 1966, which is a classic film. Barbarella. Yes, Barbarella, 1968. We've covered Fragments of Fear, 1970. He was in that. And of course, he was in an Argento film, Deep Red. I always mention that. It just another great career. Then we have a television person, you might say. John Alderton, who plays Nidge, is a face if you recognise in the 60s, early 70s. He was in Please Sir, which ran from 1968 to 1972. That dominated, as I remember, ITV schedules. John Alderton. And also he went on to work with his wife as well. I think it was... No, honestly, I think some series is like that. Pauline Collins. That's it. Pauline Collins, he worked with her quite a bit. That was his wife. Then we've got Derek Nimmo playing James. Another face that was really a TV face. He was in the 60s series All Gas and Gators from 1966 to 1971. And Oh Brother. Yeah, I remember Oh Brother. That was from 1968 to 1970. He always sounded rather posh, didn't he, Derek Nimmo? Yes, he did. There we are. Okay, so what is this film about? This film, well, it's in a seaside village, it's set, called Wroxham. Bricks and rock, very near. That's what they're using there. Anyhow, the fictitious name, Wroxham. And there's a group of young men, and they're when the season is there, they're all banding together. And it's kind of led by Tinker, who's played by Oliver Reed. And their aim really is to get all the girls, conquests, sexual conquests. When they're having their week's holiday, they're there and they can get them, and then they move on to the next one. It all happens for a whole season. There's no romance or love. It's just they're having fun. That's it. It's part of that sort of 60s vibe already getting into there. Of promiscuity and just people having a good time. And I say, what happens is that he actually meets this girl, from a very well-off background, and wow, rich pickings there, you would say. And initially, I think that's how it is, but he ends up really falling in love with her, basically. Yeah, that's it. But there's a big twist to all this, and which is major part of the film. I'm not going to give it away, but it is quite an important part that maybe things have changed for him, because he's kind of been there a long time doing this, and he's that stage, and therefore falling in love, it all seems a natural progression of how he could then take his life to the next stage, settle down, what have you. But the ending is superb. The way it does it, it's great. So that's sort of an idea of the film. And it works so well. Again, I'm going to say it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, because there's no happening, or there's this and that, you know how they are. But no, this is it's the acting and the locations, and the story works well in that sense. It's not a massive story, you would say, it's not epic, but it doesn't matter. It's got heart in the story, and it's also a very much commentary of their times, and I absolutely love it. It really it energizes me to watch film. When I see films like that, and it's like when I see a good modern film, and when I see this, it really makes me love film, and it puts aside all the bad films that you watch that I don't bother reviewing because they're so bad. There's no point in reviewing them, unless I fancy a good rant, but that isn't often. But a film like this really restores my love of film. I just absolutely love film when I see this. And this is a great film. And the sadness for me is Oliver Reed, he could... You always feel Oliver Reed could have been even bigger as an actor. Really. I mean, really. But obviously his own personal demons and what happened to him, it kind of ruined his part of his career, really, unfortunately. But he would have been a massive... What an talent he was. Anyhow, just before I go, I'll just show you. This is the indicator edition of this film called The System. Not The Girl Getters, which on some is The Girl Getters. And there inside it is. I've done it because, look, I was ever so lucky. I got this on the sale, indicator sale. And look, I got the booklet. You don't always get these booklets. So I felt ever so lucky to get the booklet. It's a great booklet as well. Fantastic. And that's it. I'm done. You're thinking, thank heavens for that. Hey, bye heck. Anyhow, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, because then we'll let you know when I produce these videos, and have a look at my playlist and see what I produce. You might like it, you might not. If you like this video, please give it a like, because then it helps it get out onto YouTube and the algorithms, and hopefully other people might think, hey, I'll try that. Hey, back I will. And also, if you got any comments, please put your comments down. I love to read your comments. And say all cost note. So, hey, Bayek, you can't say fairer than that, can they, Bayek? You can't. And that's it. I better go now. So all I gotta say is, I'll see thee again.